Hey dudes, dudettes, and doodles. My last video did really well, at least by my standards, so I want to give a big thank you to everyone who subscribed and also to beg for money. It's been a hot second since I've made an art video, and I have some very spicy political art takes. I know this isn't My Little Pony or Nietzsche, but I do have other interests. I'm so sorry. Just kidding, it's because I've been too tired for research. Anyway, art theft is a topic that periodically resurfaces in the online art community. For those of you who watch my videos for the philosophy or something, art theft in this context specifically refers to the act of tracing or copying someone's art in order to pass it off as your own, as opposed to any other kind of art theft. Every so often, there will be a case of a tracer that goes viral, and every art tuber will make a video going, "This might be a controversial opinion, but stealing is bad actually." And then everyone in the comments nods vigorously, knowing that they have done their part to quell injustice and the very real threat of someone on DeviantArt making $5 on traced Sailor Moon fan art. Now, maybe you could tell by my tone, but my feelings on this are a bit different. So, actually, tracing is always fine, and art thieves are not in fact a very real threat. Before I explain why, though, I need to establish a couple things. Firstly, this video will be specifically addressing tracing and art theft from a moral perspective. Whether or not tracing is helpful for improving someone's art skills isn't relevant to this conversation. No one has to improve artistically if they don't want to. Secondly, while we're talking about whether something is right or wrong, I want you to keep in the back of your mind what is an appropriate response to an immoral action. Thirdly, I'm ripping most of the script for this video directly from a back and forth I had with a bigger creator on this topic. Bigger in comparison to me, that is. I'm not going to mention who it was, but if someone ends up sussing it out and then that person finds this video, I want to be completely clear that I bear no ill will toward them. I really like their content. This is just one area where we happen to disagree. With that out of the way, let's destroy some arguments with facts and logic. Argument 1. Art theft is bad because it's illegal. The first problem with this statement is that it usually is not true. There's no law against tracing an anime character, slapping a bow on it, and putting it up on Instagram. Most cases of art theft are not copyright infringement. In order for it to be copyright infringement, it has to be so non-transformative that it has the potential to draw profit away from the original artist. I made a video about this in relation to animation memes a while back. Now, it should be noted here that it's almost always way easier for a large company to say that a piece of art that is similar to something that they produced is a threat to their profit than it is for a small creator to say the same thing, although that's a problem with just the way that the law is structured and not so much a problem with art theft in itself. In any case, the second major problem is that there isn't a direct correlation between something being illegal and something being morally wrong. Smoking pot is illegal in many places, but many people wouldn't consider that immoral. Meanwhile, dumping pollution into the atmosphere is both deeply morally reprehensible and technically legal in a lot of places. This is an argument from authority. Argument 2. It's bad because you're profiting from someone else's work. To be really pedantic for a second, everyone profits off of other people's work. It's unavoidable. All art, and indeed all work, does not exist in a vacuum. It's only possible because of what came before it. However, even if you argue that tracing does this far more directly, the same could be said of fan art, fanfiction, homage, parody, collage, and more. So if you think that stuff is okay, you need to argue why tracing is a special case. Remember that even though you drew the fan art or whatever it is yourself, you're still profiting off of work that isn't yours because you didn't have to put the work in to design the character in the first place. We also run into a kind of ship of Theseus problem here. If I trace a drawing and then gradually change every element, at what point does it become my drawing? Is it still theirs at the end, even though it doesn't resemble the original in any way? If so, why? Argument 3. It's bad because it steals credit from the original artist. For the sake of argument, let's say we're dealing with a case where the traced work clearly affected the overall appearance of the final work. In those cases, I basically do agree. I do think artists deserve credit for their work. Tracing someone's work and posting it as your own is rude and hurtful. But what's the appropriate response when someone is rude to you on the internet? Could you imagine if art tubers were honest about this? If they went on camera in front of their thousands of fans to go, "This person with 30 Instagram followers was rude to me. Here's their social media information. Totally don't harass them, by the way." It's just petty. If you can't work it out with them in private, you should really just report them and then forget about it. Argument 4. It's bad because it steals profit from the original artist. Now we're getting into the good stuff. The thing with this argument is that it doesn't apply in cases where the two art pieces don't directly compete. For example, if you only trace the hand or trace the drawing to look like a completely different character. If you're on board with that, then great, but I'll explain it further for those who don't really see how that matters. If you draw fan art of Naruto to put it on merch and then sell it, that could actually take some profit away from Kishimoto, because some people might choose to buy your products over official products. However, if I were to trace over official Naruto artwork, just as a random example, but put my OC in and change up the style a bit maybe, no one looking to buy Naruto art would want to buy what I made, so it can't take profit from Kishimoto. Now, there is an important bit of nuance here. Although technically, Naruto fan art might divert some profit away from the owners of Naruto, it won't really be that much in comparison with how much profit they do make from official merch. Compare this with the time Zara ripped off a small designer. A big company ripping off a small artist will always be more damaging than a small artist ripping off a bigger company. So, what about a situation where it's a small artist ripping off another small artist? In this situation, yes, the stealing is bad. This situation is the one that's most similar to other kinds of theft, and we again need to ask, what is an appropriate response to theft? I have every sympathy for artists who have lost money because of art thieves, but I want to send an important message that public shaming and legal threats, even in these unfortunate situations, is not a helpful response, because it doesn't do anything to solve the underlying problem. If you want to say that something is wrong, the next logical step is, what should we do about it? If art theft is like other kinds of theft, and I think we have good reason to assume that it is, the number one cause is desperation. Living under capitalism, a lot of people struggle to pay the bills or put food on the table. People say all the time that a homeless person stealing bread to feed their children is obviously permissible. I get the feeling that a lot of these artists would support that message, but they seem to struggle to see the connection when it's their bread. Let's say there's a person selling traced art in an attempt to pay off their medical bills. Even if you think that the tracing itself is harmful, is the appropriate reaction to scold them and say they're a bad person? I think it's a shallow take to condemn someone for doing something for profit when we live in a society that has having money as a prerequisite to not dying. Argument 5. Why would a person even do this? Simply practice your art skills and sell art at your skill level until you get good. So, firstly, I should probably say that not everyone draws in order to be good at drawing. Let's step away from the conversation of people selling art to just talk about people who are simply posting traced art like to their Instagram or something like that. I'm sure that a lot of the people who do this basically have characters or stories in their heads that they want to have drawings of, but they don't really care to practice the skill of art, which can take years. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that kind of desire. Now, you could still argue that it's rude to not give credit to the person that they traced from, and I would agree, but then we're going back to argument 3 again. On a more grim note, this is basically an art-related variation on the common get a job argument. Link in the description to a video by someone, I haven't decided yet, debunking that more broadly. I would like artists who make this argument to kindly link me to the platform where any artist, regardless of skill level, can go to get bucketfuls of commissions just like that. I've been selling commissions online for 4 years, and so far I've made approximately $0. The fact of the matter is, the majority of artists looking for commissions get no bites. Also, it's actually pretty hard to practice art when you're starving to death. A closing statement about capitalism. I want to say one last thing before ending this video. Let's say you're a person who is against profiting off of another person's hard work. All I want you to know is that that very dynamic is the basis of capitalism. You go to work to make profit for your boss. Then after you get your salary and all the equipment is paid for and stuff, your boss just keeps all that extra profit that you generated for them. So next time you see an artist ranting about Lone Wolf 69 profiting off of traced art, I hope it reminds you that capitalists are doing that every day on a way larger scale. I was called a bread tuber for the first time recently, and it has made me unreasonably happy.